Okay, good morning to all of you. In the previous class, we are discussing the quadratic residues. So, in fact, we proved Gauss lemma also, but anyhow, I'll again specify that. Yeah. So let me recall all the things till now, whatever we done. The few one or two students are not there in the previous class. For them, it may be useful. So let P be a prime number. Let P be a prime number. In fact, odd prime. Let P be an odd prime and A comma P, A belong to Z. A comma P GCD is 1. But in particular, we will take A from 0 to P minus 1, right? So A comma P GCD 1. Okay. So we'll check this x square is congruent to A modulo P if this x square equal to A mod P. If x square equal to A mod P has a solution, then we say that then A is quadratic residue modulo P. We say that A is quadratic residue modulo P. Otherwise, A is called quadratic non-residue modulo P. Okay, this is the definition. Then later Legendre gave a symbol for this, so it is denoted as this way. So A by P is equal to 1 if x square is congruent to A mod P has a solution. Or minus 1 if x square is congruent to A mod P has no solution. And maybe we can write actually if not, but that is anyhow in the definition it is not there. 0 if P divides A. Okay, by combining these three. But generally we do not take P divides A. That's why 1 and minus 1 are sufficient. So this is the Legendre symbol. Then Euler actually thought of this quadratic reciprocity law. Quadratic reciprocity law. Okay. First Euler thought of this theorem and he stated, but he not proved. And later Legendre came and he stated by using the Legendre symbol. Now the present form of quadratic reciprocity law because of the Legendre. So actually people will say that P and Q are odd primes, but I will combine all the results related to quadratic reciprocity law. The first one is that minus 1 modulo, so minus 1 P, which is equal to 1 if P is congruent to 1 modulo 4, okay, which is equal to minus 1 if P is congruent to 3 modulo 4. This is also part of the quadratic reciprocity law. Okay, so it is separate minus 1, and similarly 2 also separated. P is any odd prime, then we have this. So this is equal to, we know that directly we can write P square minus 1 by 8. We can write it as minus 1 whole power P square minus 1 by 8, but this is again become 1 if this becomes 1 if P is congruent to 1 or 7 modulo 8, and which is equal to minus 1 if P is congruent to 3 or 5 modulo 8. 3 or 5 modulo 8. Okay. And then final main part, that is if P and Q are odd primes, if P and Q are odd primes, then actual quadratic reciprocity law. So P by Q into Q by P, Legendre symbol, which is equal to -1 power P minus 1 by 2 into Q minus 1 by 2. So this is another way to state is that P by Q Legendre symbol is equal to -1 power P minus 1 by 2 into Q minus 1 by 2 into Q by P. Because if you multiply Q by P on both sides, Q by P is +1 or -1. So because that this becomes +1 in this side and we get this, okay. So then automatically what happens is that from this as a corollary, if PRQ is of the form, if PRQ is of the form 4k plus 1, then what we have is that the P by Q is equal to Q by P. There is no change. Means this P is a quadratic residue modulo P if and only if Q is quadratic residue modulo P. Okay. If so, this is one of them is of the form 4k plus 1. Otherwise, it is negative. So that means otherwise that is if both P and Q are of the form 4k plus 3, then P by Q is equal to minus Q by P. That is, one is a quadratic residue, other one is non-quadratic residue modulo, other modulo. Okay. So this is the quadratic reciprocity law. Okay. So how this entire chapter goes? So first definition, A is a quadratic residue modulo P. So definition says that x square is congruent to A mod P has a solution or not. But this is the definition. Okay. Then we have has a solution, right? But now there is a Euler's criteria, next one. Euler's criteria says that A power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to -1. Yeah, so A power P minus 1 is congruent to 1 mod P. 1 mod P if and only if A is quadratic residue modulo P. So this automatically says that A power P minus 1 by 2 is congruent to -1 modulo P if and only if A is quadratic non-residue modulo P. So this is the power of Euler's criteria. So A power P minus 1 by 2 will evaluate. If it is 1, then it is a quadratic residue, otherwise quadratic non-residue, right? So this is Euler's criteria. Euler gave a nice approach to check whether A is a quadratic residue or not. Compute A power P minus 1 by 2, and then from that we can conclude whether it is a quadratic residue or not. Then next one is that Gauss gave a formula. Gauss gave that A is a quadratic residue modulo P or not. Okay, how do you check it? So for that he told that A by P is equal to this. He gave this symbol directly. Legendre symbol is equal to -1 whole power n. Okay, so what is this n? So n is equal to what? Okay, this is the question, right? A by P you already know is a +1 or -1 whenever A comma P GCD is 1. But what is this n? Okay, so he simply computed this yes, the set S. A, 2A up to P minus 1 by 2 into A. And then he computed S modulo P. S modulo P. Then they will get reminders. Okay, that is R1, R2 up to Rm, S1, S2 up to Sn. Okay, these are less than P by 2. These are greater than P by 2. Okay, so better write like this. So yeah, so these are less than P by 2 is fine. These are greater than P by 2. This is better to write. So n of them are greater than P by 2. Then that is the symbol A by P. So this is goes. Then Eisenstein crane, Eisenstein's lemma. Okay, Eisenstein's. But Eisenstein's, there is a little constraint on the statement. Let P be an odd prime. Let P be an odd prime, and A is also an odd number. A is odd, and A comma P GCD 1. Then the Legendre symbol A by P means either it quadratic residue or non-quadratic residue can be computed by this way: -1 whole power summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 greatest integer function Ka by P. Okay, so he computed this, right? So we proved the Gauss lemma, and today we want to prove Eisenstein's lemma. Proof is not complicated. Then we'll later we prove the quadratic reciprocity law also. Okay, so let us prove Eisenstein's lemma, but this proof is almost depends upon the Gauss lemma last time which we done. Okay, so just recall that. So let P be an odd prime. A comma P GCD 1. Then we constructed the set. So Kanak, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the thing, starting point. Let P be an odd prime and A comma P GCD 1. Okay. In the Gauss lemma, A can be any integer. A comma P, even it can be even also. But in Eisenstein's, A should be odd. Okay. That is the only difference. But most of the proof is common, means at least half of the part in both the statements are true. Okay, so what is that? We take S equal to A, 2A, 3A up to P minus 1 by 2 into A. We construct this set. Now Y belong to S, meaning is what? There exists a K from 1 to P minus 1 by 2, Y is equal to Ka, because elements here are A, 2A, 3A, P minus 1 by 2 into A, so Y equal to Ka, right? So now Ka, now if I divide it by P, then there is a quotient and remainder will come. Easy. Now remainder is less than P, so I wrote 0 less than or equal to Tk less than or equal to P minus 1. So now if I divide it by P, so Ka by P greatest integer if I take, since Tk by P, Tk is less than P, so Tk by P greatest integer becomes 0. So it is Qk. So that means this advantage of greatest integer function, or actually Qk is exactly the greatest integer of Ka by P. So Ka equal to Ka by P into P plus Tk. This is what we have. So any questions till now? Okay. Now, so now these T1s, how many remainders are there? So for how many Ks are there? There are P minus 1 by 2 Ks are there. So there are P minus 1 by 2 remainders are there. So T1, T2 up to Tp minus 1 by 2, right? So they are divided into, as I told you that we are dividing this into two sets, okay? So I'm actually, my goal is to take, okay, I'll write here. So I am taking S modulo P, okay? S modulo P is this set, right? But this set I am writing as Okay, this set I'm writing as R1, R2 up to Rm. These are the remainders less than P by 2, S1, S2 up to Sn. These are the remainders greater than P by 2, right? So M plus N becomes P minus 1 by 2. M plus N becomes P minus 1 by 2. These R1, R2, Rm less than P by 2, S1, S2, Sn greater than P by 2. Okay. Now these are greater than P by 2. But they are all less than P minus 1, reminders, no? Less than or equal to P minus 1. So we subtract them from P minus S1, P minus S2, P minus Sn. Now all of these are less than or equal to P by 2, now. Less than P by 2. So by reminders, we know that earlier we done that these are all distinct. We can easily prove that these are all distinct. How can you prove that? Two of them are equal, then we'll get a contradiction. Okay. Similarly, these are distinct, but these are also distinct. Now, entire set is distinct. We want to prove. How we proved it? So some Ri is equal to some P minus Sj here. Okay, but what is Ri and Sj? They are actually reminders, right? When I divided by Ka, right? Ka reminder. So this Ri is one of the UA reminder, right? Sj is VA, some VA ka reminder, right? U is less than or equal to P minus 1 by 2, like that. And similarly, and easily they are different. So U plus V is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to P minus 1, because U plus V sum, if you do it, maximum P minus 1 ho sakta. Okay. Now I added them. So we got this. So, but Ra plus Ha, right? So here Ra plus Ha equal to P. So 0 mod P. So that is a contradiction. So U plus V is lies in between 1 and P minus 1, and that is divisible by P. That is a contradiction. That means all these are distinct. But how many of them are there? Total. So P minus 1 by 2 are there. So they are exactly, they are total P minus 1 by 2. So they are exactly 1 to P minus 1 by 2 only. So 1 into 2 into P minus 1 by 2 equal to R1, R2, Rm into these things. Okay. Now here, so now if I do modulo P, then this P becomes 0, right? Modulo P in the product, one R1, R2, Rm multiplied to P product of those. Okay. P into something like that, right? Those terms gets cancelled. Only R1, R2, Rm into minus S1, minus S2, minus Sn only will be there. But in that case, minus 1 whole power n will come. Minus, minus, minus n times. Right. But what are these R1, R2, Rm, S1, S2, Sn? These are actually reminders after dividing by P, right? A to A, P minus 1 by 2A. By these things, if I divided by P, these are the reminders. So again, I bring them back. So A, P minus 1 by 2 times. And 1 into A, 2 into A, P minus 1 by 2 into A. So P minus 1 by 2 factorial again came. So here also we have P minus 1 by 2 factorial. So that is not divisible by P, so that we can cancel. So we have minus 1 whole power n equal to A by P. Multiplying both sides by minus 1 power n, we'll get this. So as A power P minus 1 by 2 is A by P modulo P by Euler's criteria. So we have this result. So we have that A by P is equal to congruent to minus 1 whole power n. We got the required result. So this is Gauss lemma. Now today we are going to prove the Euler's criteria. Isosthenes. Okay. Again, we'll go back to that. This Ka is equal to Ka by P into, so somebody can help me. What is that I have to write here?
P.
P. I'm dividing these by P, so quotient is this, okay? Ka by P into remainder is Tk, right? Yeah, good. And but these Tks are again R1, R2, Rm, and S1, S2, Sn. Okay, yeah. So now I make the summation. I made the summation. K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2. So this is Ka, and now here I no need to write this bracket. So this Ka is equal to summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 Ka by P into P plus summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 Tk, right? But this one again, so this you can keep as it is. So summation P you can put outside if you want, because it is depends upon K only. So K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 Ka by P. This entire thing depends upon K. Plus here summation I is equal to 1 to M Ri plus summation J is equal to 1 to N Sj, correct? So this is this one. So call this as 1. Nothing I done. So just I done this one. Now come to this. Summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2. So K. This is what? This is 1 plus 2 plus up to P minus 1 by 2. This summation, right? But this is equal to what? So we know that these are these sums, right? R1 plus R2 plus up to plus Rm plus, somebody help me, what is that I have to write here? If you tell this, you are following whatever I am telling. Last class, this class.
P minus S1.
Yeah, right. Correct. Thanks. So P minus S1 plus P minus S2. These are also I have less than P. Yeah. So P minus Sn. Right. So it is equal to NP. Right. NP plus summation I is equal to 1 to N M. I is equal to 1 to M Ri plus, of course, minus actually. Minus here. Minus summation. Sorry. J is equal to 1 to N Sj. So NP, PPP, NP came here. Now we call this as 2. Now subtract these two. Subtract these two. So you see here also that I can take A outside. Okay, I am putting now here. This is A times summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 K. So if I subtract 1 from 2, 1 minus 2, 2 from 1, so I'll get A minus 1 into summation K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2 K. Okay, here, look at this part. Here I have, sorry. Here I have P, here also I have P. So if I P common, so what is that I'm going to get? P if I take common, N minus, no, sorry, that minus this. That is not a big problem, but anyhow. So Kp by N, so Ka by P. There is something is missing, so I'll write again properly. This is summation
K equals to 1 to P minus 1 by 2.
minus 1 by 2 into K
Greatest integer function of K by P minus N.
minus this portion
Plus 2 time of
Yeah, so this
Summation.
RE, these two gets cancelled, correct? The summation, these two are gets cancelled, correct? Here also we have this portion, here also we have this portion, these two are gets cancelled, but this minus, right? So this is becomes two times the summation j is equal to 1 to n sj, correct? So this much is clear. Now here the main thing is coming. What is P and what is A? Right. So P is an odd prime and A is also odd in Eisenstein criteria. Eisenstein's lemma. Right. So now I'm going to do modulo 2. When I do modulo 2, what is going to happen to this part? Can somebody help me? Hmm?
It will be 0.
This will be 0. What about this part?
0.
0. This is become 0. This is become 0. Right. So what is left? This portion is left. That is, and what about P also?
1.
It becomes 1. So what is that I'm getting finally? This K is equal to 1 to P minus 1 by 2, Ka by P. Okay. So this quantity is congruent to N modulo 2. So that means both are even, both are odd. That is a meaning, right? Modulo 2 means that both are even or both are odd. So both have same parity. That much only we proved. But now Gauss lemma comes into picture. So we know that A by P is equal to minus 1 whole power n by Gauss lemma. But now this is equal to, here n is any integer, only even or odd only matters. So because of that, this is equal to minus 1 whole power summation k is equal to 1 to p minus 1 by 2 Ka by p. Okay, so that proves the Eisenstein criteria. Now quadratic reciprocity becomes simple. Okay, so there are many proofs for quadratic reciprocity law. So I told you that Gauss himself gave 8 proofs. Okay, and he told that it is the fundamental theorem. He told, and it is one of the gem. So in fact, there is a book written on this particular. So quadratic reciprocity law. There is a book on this. All several proofs are you can find there, and there are many articles means simple proof like that. People are doing that. Okay, so 1 minute. Am I audible? Okay. Right. Now the next part is simple. Now coming to the quadratic reciprocity law proof. So what is the quadratic reciprocity law main part? Means I told you that minus 1 by p, 2 by p is also part. The entire thing is a package, right? Then only we can compute. See, Legendre symbol is a map actually. You can think as a map, right? If a p is a prime, then it is a map from natural integers, in fact. In fact, you can think of integers also. But for our case, we take natural numbers too. So it is minus 1, 0, 1 as a map. Okay. So now we have some number n by p. I want to compute this, right? I want to compute what is this value. So n is equal to generally 2 power k1. So 2 power k1 into p1 power k2. So now p1 is an odd prime. So p2 power, okay, let us take p2. Yeah. p3 power k3 and so on. So some pr power kr. Every natural number can be written as product of primes, correct? So I have this prime factorization for given n. Now what is this n by p value, correct? So you know that whenever we have in the previous class we discussed, whenever it is a square, automatically it is 1. So I don't worry about, I only now try to compute, and it is, this function is completely multiplicative, that also we saw. So because of that, what is going to happen, this n by p now becomes, because of the completely multiplicativity, 2 by p power k1, right? Even you can remove even part only. If it is already k1 is even, you know, no need to worry about. This is +1 or -1, correct? Only those will be left. Only those odd things only left, and it is sufficient to compute only by p2 by p, like that. You understand that, right? So this is k2 and so on, pr by p power kr. So it is telling you that it is sufficient to compute p2 by p, pr by p, correct? So even here also, so for example, my k2 is equal to 101, then 100 I'll separate, only one I need to compute. Finally, this is value is equal to, this value is equal to that value. Okay, whenever they are odd, only I have to compute those cases only, p2 by, for example, k2 is odd, I want to compute p2 by p. Those only we need to check. So that's why Legendre symbol completely multiplicative as you say, so it is sufficient to compute p by q only, where p and q are odd primes. Of course, we need minus, we need for negative numbers. Minus we need, n is an integer, but 2 is separate. 2 we need to prove separately. We done it by Gauss lemma. We completed in the last class, right? Okay. Just erase this. But quadratic reciprocity law goes like this. So what is that they will do is that this p minus 1 by 2 into q minus 1 by 2, so is equal to summation k is equal to 1 to p minus 1 by 2 into ka by p, okay, greatest integer function, plus, right? So this is like this, summation k is equal to 1 to q minus 1 by 2. Yeah, so here depending upon qp, okay, so here I'll take q, here I'll take, I hope you understand I can use the same k. K is a variable in both the cases. Otherwise I take I here, j here. But I hope there is no problem. So it is like this, right? So if you're able to prove this one, we are done. Why? Let us see that. If you're able to prove this product, now this is just numbers. P minus 1 by 2, Q minus 1 by 2, odd, P is an odd, Q is odd, P minus 1 is even, so it is an integer, this is an integer product, this product equal to this sum. Okay, if you prove this one, a result is done. Why? Okay, let us see that. So by Eisenstein criterion, but someone tell me instead of me, if we prove this one, result is over.
And
Hmm.
you can, like, in the previous equation we had minus
Yeah,
1
right.
raised
P
to
by Q equal to what from the previous problem? P by Q equal to,
minus 1 raised to
yeah, minus 1 raised to summation k is equal to 1 to q minus 1 by 2
k by q.
kp
Sorry,
by q,
kp by q.
right? This is the that part. Q by p equal to, from the previous result, since both are odd, so Eisenstein we can apply. Minus 1 whole power summation k is equal to 1 to p minus 1 by 2 kp by q, correct? So these are the two things we have with us, right? Okay, good. Now, so now we are looking for this, right? So p by q into q by p, right? So this is equal to, now what happened? This product equal to now. So this is summation k is equal to 1 to p minus 1 by 2 into kp by q. I made a mistake, right? I made a mistake. Yeah, I'll change that. Here q
It's
minus 1
Q
by
by
2,
P.
here it is p. No problem. This is p here. And here q.
Q.
Yeah, no problem. That is good. Sometimes it helps us. Okay. So kp by, so let us write it. Yeah. So p by q is this summation k is equal to 1 to q minus 1 by 2 ka by kp by q plus summation k is equal to 1 to p minus 1 by 2 kq by p, right? But what is that quadratic reciprocity law is looking for? So p by q into q by p is equal to minus 1 whole power p minus 1 by 2 into q minus 1 by 2, right? So these two are same, right? So these two has to be same. So that means that this exponent should be same. So that is the thing, right? So that is the idea of Eisenstein. So Eisenstein lemma simplified the proof, okay? And further, not only stopped, and he proved those two are equal by using geometrically. Okay, so what is that he done? He done that he took the points here. Okay, so 1, 2 up to here p minus 1 by 2, and here 1, 2 up to q minus 1 by 2, right? So then he draw the line px equal to qy. Okay, he draw one line px equal to qy, and look at the point. This is 1 1, this is 1 comma 2, and this is 1 sorry, p minus 1 by 2 comma 1, right? So this point is 1 comma 2, so 2 comma 2 and so on, p minus 1 by 2 comma 2. So can somebody tell me what is this point, this particular point?
P minus 1 by 2, comma Q minus 1 by 2.
Yeah, p minus 1 by 2 comma q minus 1 by 2, correct? So these are the points, these are lattice points. Okay, then he constructed a line. What is the line he constructed? So px equal to qy, right? So he constructed a line. So px equal to qy, some line. Okay. So none of the lattice points are in this line. How do you prove that none of the points are in this lattice line? On this line?
P and Q are co-primes. So
See, if for example, if there is a point here, that means that so some PA is equal to QB, right? Then Q divides PA, right? But now this A value, they are from up to q minus 1 by 2 or something. So p and these are co-prime, so nothing. So it cannot divide. That way we can easily see that none of the lattice points passes through this, lie on this line. So then what about all the points now? They are above the line or below the line? Okay, he counted them. Above the line, below the line, above. So these are exactly, you add them. All the points above the line and add all the points below the line, you add them, we'll get all the points. How many points are there total? Total, how many points are there? So p minus 1 by 2 into q minus 1 by 2. Total number of points are, so p minus 1 by 2 into q minus 1 by 2. And so above and below are these sums. If you add them, we'll get it. Is the question clear? Is the things are clear? Sketch of the proof otherwise. Why I'm telling this way, it is because you unnecessarily don't worry about theorem much, proof and all. What is going on first you need to understand. Then proof becomes easy. Yeah, any questions? I will get back to you once. Yeah, so you think of and I will come to you. Yeah, tell me. You think about and let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, any questions? Yeah, so are you able to see the slides here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, earlier my videos are also available. The slides are from that only. See, I have all the slides. Today only I'm showing slides to tell you that even though I have all the slides, I never used slides, right? Yeah, so today just to show a little faster way. So because you most of you are clear with, that's why I'm just showing a little faster. So I am explaining with one example. P and Q are two distinct odd primes, then P by Q into Q by P equal to minus 1 whole power P minus 1 by 2 into Q minus 1 by 2, right? So we'll explain with one example. So P equal to 7 and Q equal to 11. We consider lattice points. Okay. So X value lies in between, right? I told you I drawn the graph, right? So I drawn the graph right this way, right? Okay. So 1 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to 7 minus 1 by 2, that is 3, and Y is less than or equal to 5. So total, how many points are there? 15 points, right? You can easily check. 1, 2, 3 like that we are going. Total 15 points. P minus 1 by 2 into Q minus 1 by 2. None of the points satisfy this 11x equal to 7y, right? So this 11x equal to 7y, none of the points will satisfy. Okay, that is also clear. If it is satisfied, then we will get a contradiction, correct? Right. So for example, 11x equal to 7y, 7 divides 11x, but x is lies in between 1 to 3. So 7 does not divide any x. 7 does not divide 11 also. 7 cannot divide product. Similarly, 11 cannot divide 7y. So it is quite obvious. Okay. Right. Now, these are the points. Now, how many are below the line and how many are above the line? This is the question, right? So we divide the 15 points into two groups, right? Depending upon whether they lie above or below. The line 7x equal to 11y, correct? Okay. So note the points xy, 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3, and y. Now y value depends upon x. Once I fix x, what are the possible y's? Once I fix x, y changing means where I am going, how I am moving. Are you able to see that? Are you able to see that? Once I fix x, I'm only changing y. Y is ranging from where to where?
1 to 11x.
X by 7. But now where we are moving? Y value we are moving on the
Y-axis, I mean on vertical.
Parallel to y-axis, correct? Yeah. So that exactly. So then they corresponds to the points like this. Okay. So when first you take my x equal to 1, x equal to 1, what is the y value, right? So 11x by 7. I'm integer only I'm taking, right? So 1 comma 1 will come, right? So you look at here in the graph. So this particular thing, right? So I hope you are able to see that. So this, my cursor is visible, Kathy?
Yes, sir.
Cursor is also okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So here I'm moving x equal to 1, I fixed, I'm moving this way, right? So up to 11x by, so I'm not crossing the line. So how many points I will take? Only 1 here, right? If I take 2, 11x by 2. So do not worry about this line, okay? This is, I drawn somehow. So we need to compute properly. So it is not that 3 points are below the line and all. Okay, this is a approximate figure. Don't assume that this is correct figure. Okay. So like that, you see that these are the points below the line. But how do you get them? How many of them? How many of them? That is a question, right? So that number of such points can be calculated as follows, right? So once we fix x, we see that 11x by 7 are allowable choices for y, right? So that means that so that is the total number of points are equal to k equal to 1 to 7 minus 1 by 2, k 11 by 7, right? 11 by 7, 2 into 11 by 7, 3 into 11 by 7. Total 8 points below the line. Is it okay? See, 11 points are below the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any doubts here? Okay. So similarly, we'll found y, we'll fix y and we keep change x, right? So that will take care of the other part. So this is the proof, nothing. Okay. So I shown the slides because it becomes easy for you to instead of, right? Then final result. Proof also goes in the same lines, exactly the same lines. Don't worry much. So I call that minus 1 whole power k minus 1 by 2 into kp by q and all, tpq or tqp. That nothing is there. So the number of points below the line are 2qp, number of points above the line 2pq, like that. So there's some I take. Okay. Yeah. So this is what we have. The proof is very simple. This way it will go. Yeah. So now one or two examples I'll say, then I'll stop. So now we'll see that how to compute q by p, where q is a fixed prime and p is varying prime. Are you following? Q is fixed and p is varying. This is one of the problem. I'll keep q. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? So for which primes q is a quadratic residue, which primes q is not a quadratic residue. Q is fixed. That means in which primes x square equal to q mod p. Q is fixed. So I take x square equal to q mod p. P is varying. Which primes it is splitting, which primes that polynomial is not splitting, or which primes it is has a root, which primes it is not a root. So that is the goal. So how many primes are there? Infinite number of primes are there. So that is a little complicated, infinite. So instead of that, so what is that we do? So we'll first compute, in order to compute q by p, right? So what is fixed here? Q is fixed. So I'll compute a by q now. Okay, that is easy. So because there are only q minus 1 will be there. So now if I take p is any prime, then p is congruent to b mod q for some b, right? So then b by q equal to q b by q, right? Then we will by using quadratic reciprocity law, we'll compute q by p. How? So I'll give one example so that it will be easy. Let us take q equal to 17. What are the quadratic residues modulo 17? 1, 2, 4, 8. These are the quadratic residues. 8 will be quadratic residues, 8 will be quadratic non-residues. So we know this, right? But what is that I want to, q is fixed now. I want to compute 17 by p, but it is equal to p by 17. Why? Because 17
is 4k plus 1. So
4k plus 1. So one of them is 4k plus 1, then 17 by p equal to p by 17. Yeah, so that I know. Now, what is that I have to check? Given a prime p, then I will check that I'll do modulo 17. If it is 1, 2, 4, 16, then I'm done. Then it is 1, otherwise it is not. Are you following? But again, there is a problem that the p is very large and all. So how to attack? That's a later question. But quadratic reciprocity law is helping that only whether it is a quadratic residue or not, just we do modulo 17 and look at that which is one of these or not, right? Okay, similarly, I give another example. So many examples are given. So how to compute 3 by p is also given. I'll explain this and okay, just to go through the statement. Okay, this is the question, how to prove it. Now, next question is that. See, now the beauty is that, see, I can change p, but I can know what is 3 by p value. It's only depend upon the p I will check. So whether x square equal to 3 mod p as a solution is there or not, depending upon p only. That is the beauty, right? So by using quadratic reciprocity law, so 3 by p equal to p by 3. That you know, when p is congruent to 1 mod 4, and minus p by 3 when p is congruent to 3 mod 4. Why? Not complicated, because 3 is already of the form 4k plus 3. So if p is also of the form 4k plus 3, then both are of the form 4k plus 3. In that case, 3 by p becomes minus 3 by p, right? That is okay. Now, now what is that we want to compute? P by 3 only. That is easy because 3 is a small prime. So we know that p by 3 equal to 1 if p is congruent to 1 mod 3, otherwise minus 1. Right. If we divide p, then only remainders are 1 and 2. Right. Now we need to combine both by Chinese remainder theorem. Right. If you combine both of them, you'll get it. So when both are becoming, yeah, so this result is now easy by Chinese remainder theorem. I not wrote Chinese remainder theorem. Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 12 how is coming, you know, up to modulo 12, 4 comma 3 GCD 1. So you'll get it. Yeah. So 3 by p equal to this. Okay. So we proved that. Yeah. Similarly, one can compute 5 by p and 7 by p. 5 by p, now we go to modulo 20. Okay. And so these are the cases. 4 times it becomes plus 1 and 4 times it is become minus 1. Okay. And 7 by p is like this, very big. 28 you had to go, modulo 28. So like that, of course, this is also now becoming lengthy, becoming very big. As the prime increases 7, we need to go to 4p, right? So not easy. Yeah, I'm not telling that we are solved polynomial times something. So still there are issues are there. Yeah, so there are some other questions. I will stop here. Yeah, this example we done earlier. Now, how to compute minus 3 by p? I gave one example. So minus 1 by p into 3 by p. Minus 1 by p is minus 1 whole power p minus 1 by 2. Right? And 3 by p now becomes p by 3, but minus 1 power p minus 1 by 2. Why we wrote like that? Why we wrote like that? It is independent. If p is of the form 4k plus 1, then no problem. It is p by 3 only, right? See, it is independent of 3 now. It is another beauty. You will tell that actually why you do not write minus 1 whole power p minus 1 by 2 into 3 minus 1 by 2. But that is not required. Okay. Yeah, now it is just 3 by p by 3. See, minus 3 by p, p is any prime, minus 3 by p equal to p by 3. Okay. Then we will do remaining things. Is it okay? Any questions? Yeah, any questions here? So Kathy, are you clear?
Yes, sir.
No, SR is not coming that confidently. Where you face problem? Is it little fast?
Sir, the last case cannot happen, right?
Last case
Zero.
anyhow I will not take. So only that is the only when p equal to 3 itself.
Yes.
Yeah, that is only p equal to 3 itself. That is the only case. So leave that case. I told p is any prime now, so I need to give that
Yes,
case
yes.
also. That's why I gave. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So one more simple problem with that I may stop. So this is the question we need to do. Right? This is very big. Big numbers are given, right? But we know that AB by C equal to A by C into B by C we'll use repeatedly. So this 4661 by 9901 can be written as 59 by 9901 into 79 by 9901. We'll reciprocate because 9901 is congruent to 1 modulo 4 and it may be a prime number. That's why I wrote like that. So then we got that. And then even, yeah, so fine. Yeah, now we'll do modulo, then 48 by 59, 26 by 79, right? Why it took 16 here? 48 equal to 16 into 3 is separated, but 16 anyhow becomes 1, 4 square. So only we have 3 by 59 and 2 by 79 and 13 by 79, these three left. But 2 by 79, why it is plus 1? So we know that 2 by 79 is 1 if p is of the form 8k plus 1 or 8k plus 7, right? So 78 is of the form
8K plus 7.
8k plus 7. So that is 1. So we have that part is done. Now 59 by 3 we compute and 79 by 13 will compute separately. We'll again reciprocate because 13 is of the form 4k plus 1. So I can reverse it also. 13 by 79. Then I'll do modulo. Then I'll get 1 by 13. That becomes 1. So 59 by 3 now 2 by 3. Right. So that we know it is minus 1. So minus into minus becomes plus 1. So like that we'll compute the values. Okay. Right. Okay. There is other symbol. This is not part of your syllabus. So when you do for more, not only for primes, so B can be here B is a prime, right? Now B is also product of something composite numbers. How do you do? So Jacobi brought one symbol, Jacobi symbol. So from that we can compute. So but anyhow, this is I'm not asking the exam. So you can learn on your own. Very interesting, this part also. Very simple. If one more class is there, I can complete, but yeah, anyhow, that's okay. I'll stop.